Hello and welcome back to Path of Exile. Now, today's voiceover will sound a bit different today because I'm not having a script whatsoever. I usually script these, but I don't care. I don't have the time. Much like I didn't have the time during this league, as you can see the character only got to 87. I normally take the time to get it to 90. But that's besides the point. I just didn't have the time. At least not during Boat League, where I have died about 25 times. Not as impressive as last league. The following build is Flame Blast Castle Channeling Wave of Conviction. And essentially, you just kind of stand there, cast for a little bit, and then get out of the way. That's all it is. Stand there, cast a little bit, get out of the way. Stand there, cast a little bit, get out of the way. And essentially, that's all you really need to do. I survived 25 deaths, and all I did was, I stood there. Now, we all know in PoE, you can't actually survive by just standing there. Or wait, you can. As I have done time and time again. Granted that I have died 25 times, meaning it's not hardcore viable or anything like that, but can you stand there and survive? Yes. Should you? Well, do you want the damage? Up to you. Now I know you're probably thinking, well, you could just use any other skill and be fine. However, it takes a lot of confidence to say, I stood there and I killed everything. This is a Wave of Conviction Castle Channeling Flame Blast build. Sorry for the awkward pause there, but it's incredible for me to even do this another time. Now, I have played Flame Blast builds in the past, but not quite to this extent. I've also played Wave of Conviction builds. As you might have remembered, I also played Wave of Conviction brands. Trust me, this is a lot stronger than Wave of Conviction brands. As I've already said, this is a Flame Blast Castle Channeling Wave of Conviction build. Essentially, the links are set up to make the build feel a bit better than it usually would with just the Castle Channel set up on its own. It's Flame Blast Castle Channeling, of course, Wave of Conviction, but it also has faster casting, Ice Bite, and Infused Channeling. Infused Channeling for the bit of protection, Ice Bite for the frenzy charges, and faster casting because Flame Blast is one of the slowest skills to cast, even if you have a pretty decent amount of cast speed. And it'll actually feel like you get a whole bunch more once you actually get the fanaticism going. This build is essentially very easy to get the fanaticism going. I just use shield charge, and that seems to do it for me. Kill something with shield charge, or even just have something hit by shield charge and then having that die. Basically the same boat. And you'll have those fanaticism charges going. I essentially don't have very much fizz damage on the build. I don't even think there is any. But there is plenty of time that you have in order to actually just deal enough damage and get out of the way. There is max res, there's positive chaos resistance, and you're not worrying about your mana constantly draining, because this is Eldritch Battery. Granted, you could use the helmet and save yourself 2 points. Wow, look at that! But that's besides the point. But no, I'd rather have a helmet that actually gives me some life, as the build itself is actually quite powerful. So really all you need to do when you actually build a character like this is you build defenses. Now that goes without saying, a bunch of your damage comes from your levels, of course, with any spell. there isn't really that much damage scaling on the tree, and you don't really need a whole lot. It's all just a big part of your exposures being constantly cast, and your damage constantly just bursting out. And if you're having a hard time with those rares, especially the rejuvenating, the light, no, not lifesteal, the life leech enemies, just anything that gives itself health again. Oh, it's got a solution for that. Just use Veil Flame Blast. Most time, they only lived about 2 stages of it. I know, because I just kind of walk behind them and then cast that, and then they're just gone. Couldn't even hang on for dear life. I'd feel bad for them, except for the fact that they're kind of tough to deal with on pretty much all the other builds. So I don't feel bad for them at all. This is a very comfortable build. Essentially, the clear is pretty decent, and the single target's not bad. I've had really very few builds that have this good of single target damage. I'm just saying something. Anyways, the thing about this build is it just gets real comfy after a while. Because really, like I said before, you stand there, you cast, you get out of the way. Anyways, the thing is, you just get a little too comfortable. Mainly because there doesn't really feel like you have a bunch of weaknesses, even though you should, because you're standing still. But no, you don't. The main things about this build, where it comes to its weak points, are essentially that, well, when the server lags and all the projectiles come at you at once, that can kill you. The, anytime you get impaled, that's really tough on you. I tried a T16, not in this video, because I threw out the recording. It was pretty bad. But it was a very high impale heavy map. And I didn't really notice it until I got to the bosses. Yeah, no, don't deal with impales on this build. It's a big weakness here. Maybe not so much in the lower tiers, but definitely on T16. And I didn't have another T16 map to actually do, so here's a T15. Essentially, this build deals with damage, or specifically the full damage per second. That's what I mainly scale. I didn't focus on fire damage. I didn't focus on really elemental damage. You don't really need to focus on that much damage overall. Like I said before, it's not really where you need to focus on damage. You need to focus on your defenses. Now, while this may not seem like the most defensive character, it's got defenses where it can put them. And a lot of that defense comes from energized armor, or it also comes from just increased armor on the tree as well. There's also a bit of damage recoup. And that's about it. There's damage recoup, some life, of course, and there's the heal on block. You don't... It feels like it could get more defenses, maybe in the future, maybe not. But, for now, this is what it has. In conclusion, basically, this is... I like this build. It's not my favorite, but it feels good. It's not the worst one I've played in a while. Is it the best? Tough to say. But it's probably the best one I've played in a while. And while I didn't start with it, it really did become a great idea in between. I just wish I had thought of it sooner. Essentially, this is not a very fast build. It just kills things quickly. You want it dead? It probably already is. You want it to still be alive? Well, it probably isn't. It's just a Wave of Conviction, Caswell channeling, Flame Blast build. And there's not really much to it. It's simple. It kills relatively quickly. And you don't really feel like things will hurt you too bad. Which might be a bit of a downfall, really. And like I said, pretty weak to impales. If enemies cast their projectiles fast enough at you, you'll probably die. If you get swarmed, maybe you'll die, but probably not. And that's about all I have to say. Till next time, Talawana. Ugh.